All right, everybody, welcome back to the Lions Pit podcast. I am your host, Nick Gomez. With me today is my good friend, the one and only Danielle Gertner. How are you, love?
I'm so good. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Yeah, I'm excited too. We've been talking about this for a little while, and I feel like you and I have always hit it off. We've always had like great conversations, good energy. So it was only natural to, hey, let's put a camera in front of those conversations.
We've had many podcasts.
We've had many. We just had one in the car.
We did.
Yeah, we sat there waiting for our good friend Paul. Love that guy. But we sat there and had a great conversation. And I kept thinking, I was like, man, I should just like go Instagram live while we're talking and just post the phone up. Yeah, I should have done because we have so many common friends, obviously coming from like the same universe of like Austin fitness and then expanding past that. But we have so many common friends. I should have done like hey, I'm having, Danielle Gertner on the podcast tomorrow. What kind of questions would you guys like to hear from her?
That would have been fun.
I should have done that. Yeah.
Next time we'll have to do a round two.
Yeah. I wish that was my genuine idea. But my good friend Katie Cook that I was telling you about, she is the one, she's like, you should ask her, like you should have people like ask questions to ask her. And I was like, oh yeah, I should have done
Love that.
Yeah. So I'm gonna start doing that moving forward.
Okay.
But if you were a fan, what would you ask you?
What would I ask me?
Yeah. I feel like you have so much going on. That'd be what I would ask is like, what's next?
Yeah. Well, I would probably ask me like, how do you do it all? Because I ask myself that question all the time. Like, how are you holding it all?
Yeah.
Do you want me to answer that
Duct tape
question
and
or we'll
wood
come
glue.
back to it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, a lot of God, a lot of channeling. My man up there.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? You know what's funny? I saw this thing. It's like people will try drugs and people will try meditation and people will try therapy. It's like, why don't you try God? Like, I'm like, man, that's like that for me is really like hit hard because that is something that I always rely back on and fall back on, I should say, is the saving grace of God, because many times I have fallen, but somehow I am still like doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love that.
Before we get into the question of what you're doing and what's next, let's tell the people that might not know who you are.
Well, my name is Danielle Gertner, and I'm so happy to be here. It's always interesting to answer this question, so I'll answer it both ways, professionally and as the human that I am outside of my profession. But professionally, I am a self-mastery coach and mentor and speaker and MC. I am the MC for High Rocks, which I feel like I should share because it's blowing up so quickly. So I travel with them all across North America and hype everybody up at the start line. And I speak on self-mastery concepts. So anything from owning your shit to heart-centered leadership to navigating grief. I run some programs. I got my own podcast and I'm a fitness coach as well. And I run Warrior Women ATX. We're the largest workout community led by women for women in Austin. And many other things in between there. But those are just kind of the high level. My whole thing is taking ownership over your life and radical responsibility. And then as a human, originally from South Florida, born and raised. So that's where I get my sass from. It's not a little sass.
It's a little flair.
It's pretty sassy.
Pretty voluptuous sass.
It's pretty, yeah. I'm a student and a learner and a lover of life and just human in an earth suit on a beautiful, wild journey.
Yeah, on a beautiful spinning rock through
in
the galaxy.
Middle of space.
Yeah, I love that. The first time I met you, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, it was the landmine U cert that came through. And this was January of 2021. And the reason I know it was January of 2021 was because I got shingles that weekend.
Wow.
On my face. On the left side of my face, I got shingles. And it started off like I felt like I had like a splinter in the corner of my eye. And then I noticed like a little bump on the side of my head that was painful. And I had just done some stuff at an MMA gym. And I was like, oh, fuck, I got staph. Because I'd had a staph infection before from a gym in Albuquerque. And so that's what I was thinking. I was instantly thinking, I was like, oh, man, I think I got staph. And I remember going to urgent care. And I go and I told the doctor that. I was like, yeah, I think I have staph. This is kind of what I'm feeling. So he gets me on medication for staph. This is literally the Saturday of the landmine U cert. And I do the cert Saturday, Sunday. I'm like, man, my body feels awful. And then I wake up Monday and it's just blown up. Like
Wow.
I have like blisters all over the left side of my face. It's extremely painful. I feel like I have just like fiberglass, just millions of little splinters in my face. And I wake up and I'm like, man, if this is staph and it's like gone to my blood, like I'm screwed. And so I go to the emergency room because I have a splitting headache. And so I go to the emergency room and I mean, instantly the doctor's like, oh yeah, this is shingles. This is
Yeah.
not staph. You're on the wrong medication.
Oh, wow.
I missed my sister's wedding. Yeah, because I had a
Oh.
blister on the rim of my eyelid. And
Huh.
they said, you ever watch There's Something About Mary?
Yes.
You know, Woogie, like the stalker
Yes.
boyfriend, and he breaks out in the hives.
Mm-hmm.
So shingles will only affect one side or the other because it follows like nerve paths.
Yeah.
So it was just on the left side of my face, but it looked like Woogie from There's Something About Mary. So anyway, I have a blister on the rim of my eye, and the doctor at the ER, he's like, if that spreads to your eye, it's a very different ballgame because you have so many nerve endings in your eye. He's like,
Shit.
you cannot get on a plane.
Wow.
You have to stay somewhere where you can like have pretty quick access to an ophthalmologist. And they're like, there's only one hospital in Austin that has that. So if you wake up and your eye is hurting, you have to go there immediately.
Wow.
Yeah, it sucked missing my sister's wedding. But yeah, it was wild. It was wild. But
That
then
is so wild.
yeah, but oddly enough, that reminds me. I'm like, oh yeah, I met Danielle at that cert.
I associate Danielle with me having shingles.
Yep. Yeah, the pain in my eye. No,
Wow. That was a great cert.
it was fun. Yeah, it was fun. And like I said, that was where I got introduced to the magic that is Danielle Gertner. Even though you were there as a participant, not as an instructor.
Yes.
But you obviously knew some of the folks instructing, so like you were very interactive with everything going on, which was very helpful. But yeah, that was my first Danielle Gertner experience.
Wow. It's
What
a good one.
What a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was I love that cert. And it's like hands down one of my favorite certifications.
I liked it a lot more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
Because I come from a very like traditional strength and conditioning background. So anytime I see something that's a little different, I'm like, all right, let me see. Let me see, can I use this with my clients? Can I use this with my athletes? Like, where is this applicable?
Yeah.
And the landmine I liked more than I thought I would, for
Yeah.
sure. Because like just seeing it online, you see people flying everywhere, throwing landmines and like doing stuff. I'm like, looks fun, looks great for someone that is already athletic. But then like when they break it down in the cert and they go through like the process of it, I'm like, oh, okay, this actually is like a pretty good certification. Like I liked it, and they do a good job of instructing it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. How'd you get caught up with those guys? How'd you meet those guys?
Jared.
Oh, it's through Jared? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I wasn't sure. I knew he was like part of that, but I
Yeah.
wasn't sure.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Jared was doing landmines when we were dating, when he was in Orlando, and started to pick it up and started doing it a little bit. And when they were coming through Austin to On It, I was like, oh, I mean, he had kind of certified me in his own way. I mean, he
Sure.
drilled enough. Coil, no, hit your landmarks.
Your landmarks, yeah.
Okay. But actually going through the formal education piece was so helpful. I use it all the time. Something that I really love about it is that I have been able to use it for clients of all levels, you know,
For sure.
because really, if you're thinking about some of the patterns, you're really teaching people to walk with a landmine. And I think that is really cool. We just did it at Warrior Women a couple weeks ago.
Oh, nice.
And emphasized, this is just like walking, take a step forward. And so that was really cool to see it
Very nice.
translate over.
And you have an event this weekend, correct? And On It?
I do.
Yeah. Would you like to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Primal Flow and Glow. It's my favorite event experience. Glow in the dark, primal movement, black lights, glow paint, microdose mushrooms, live DJ, ecstatic dance, just all of my favorite things in one. And just an opportunity to get people out of the seriousness of training, which is something else I appreciated with landmines and many other certifications I've taken. It can be fun, and it should be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I understand that there is a time and place to go balls to the wall and put those blinders on and be serious if you're training for a competition and stuff. But if you think about the majority of the population are just training to feel good and want to feel good and want to feel connected to their bodies. I realized that really Primal Flow was a creation for me.
Mhm.
And a call up for me who was taking training way too seriously. And I was way too rigid and missing out on the true embodiment of my movement, right?
Yeah.
I was super in my head about what did it look like instead of what does this feel like. And so anyway, created this really awesome event. I've done it all over the city of Austin, at On It, at nightclubs, at VUCA, at all different cool spaces, and excited to bring it back to On It in the space out back in sports performance. And
Yeah, heck yeah.
show the Onnit community a different way to move.
Yeah, but I also think like it is very much a different way to move,
Mhm.
but I think it really fits in with what we do at On It because we really try to like encompass like movement and freedom, and
Yep.
obviously it is a pretty elite training facility, and you have some, like you said, guys in there with their blinders on, guys and gals in there with their blinders on, just really throwing down. But like you also see the people that are in there moving. We have people that are in there dancing, like they have their headphones in and they're in their corner like watching a video and like dancing, and that's their workout. And I'm like, cool, like On It really encompasses so much of this. And then so I think the primal flow and glow, again, you look at like some of the art that's around On It,
Yep.
you look at like truly the core and the heart of On It, it's very primal.
Yep.
So to reiterate, like I think it fits in perfectly with our culture. It's an event that I really want to make it to. And then twice you've done it when I'm out of town.
Yeah, I know.
Which is such a bummer because I'll be out of town this weekend when you're doing it.
I guess I just got to keep doing it.
I think you need to get with me on my schedule and be like, all right, Nick.
100%.
No, please, God, do not.
100%.
But I would love to do it because, again, it's something that I really believe in movement. I know I need more movement and get out of my like traditional patterns and become more and play.
Yeah.
Because that's what we forget to do as adults is play. That's why adults don't like roller coasters because we don't tumble. You know, we don't flip. We don't lay on the side of a grassy hill and roll all the way down anymore. You know what I mean? And so for adults to continue to play, not only is that going to make them more susceptible or more prepared for those kind of movements, but it's a way for them to like slow the aging process.
Totally.
You want to play with your grandkids on the carpet, like on the floor, and be able to get back up. Like this is the kind of stuff you should be doing now.
Yeah.
If you want to live that kind of life as you progress, right?
Totally.
And I just think there's so much like magic and medicine in movement.
There is a lot of magic and medicine in also just the radical self-expression piece, which is paint yourself however you want.
Yeah.
Dance however you want. I'm going to show you a way to do this beast crawl or whatever it is that I'm demonstrating, but how can you make it yours? And for me, the reason I got into movement was because I wanted people to understand that it is their unique expression of movement that is what makes it the most beneficial for their body. If I tried to move just like you, I could probably get close, but I'm missing out on my body's fullest expression, which if I can reach that, I'm going to receive the most benefits from that type of movement. Right? So that's really what I try to get to in a primal flow and glow. Or when I do bikinis, board shorts, and bells, and we're swinging kettlebells and bikinis and Speedos, and we're just having a good time, how can you make this unique to your self-expression in a way where we're still safe, we're still, focusing on form, but your form, because your body structure is different than mine, is going to look different than mine.
For sure. Yeah. But I think, like you said, expressing the fullest version of yourself and making it your movement is really where it's at. And that's something as a strength coach, like I've had to learn as well. Like there's no like perfect posture. You know what I mean? Like you have to work with the people with what they got. And someone might have a more naturally curved thoracic spine when they're doing deadlifts, but as long as they're braced in that position, it's still safe. They don't have to be like a perfectly flat back or anything like that. So again, making the movement yours and being able to like fully express yourself, I think is very vulnerable because you have to really like not give a shit what other people are thinking, which is tough to do. But also, again, it's very like rewarding and satisfying. Like I did that the way I wanted to do it.
Yes.
And it felt good. Yes. And I think that's empowering, and it allows people to hopefully take that into other aspects of their life. Like, how do I make this mine? How do I stand out? How do I make myself unique, or my movement unique, or my presentation unique? I think stuff like that is huge. Yeah. And when's the bikini, board shorts, and bells?
I don't know yet. May or June. Probably June. May already feels like it's tomorrow. So probably June. It's always a really fun summer event that I've done in Austin since the last 4 years. I usually do 2, one at the beginning of the summer, one at the end of the summer. So we'll see what happens. But also just another fun opportunity to train hard and play simultaneously. And I think when you realize you can hold both of those, everything changes. And so I'm excited to show more people that they can hold both of those at the same time.
Yeah. I'll try to make sure I'm in town for at least one of those.
Cool.
Wear a Speedo.
Deal. Larry wore a Speedo. Larry, I'm just putting you out there.
Yeah, hell yeah, Larry.
Dope.
Larry's the man. Hands down the best boss I've ever had. Great dude. He's actually my next guest.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm gonna have Larry on and then Alex Earl. And
Wonderful.
then I think Carlisle.
3 great men.
3 great men. Like 3 like men that I really like look up to and admire as far as like how they're living their lives in very different ways too for all 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited about that. Funny side note Speedo story. When I first moved to Austin, I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'll get a Speedo. Why not? More so for like tanning purposes. Like, if I'm being honest, I was like, you know, I'm gonna get a Speedo for tanning. And my dumbass, I go and I don't know if it was maybe like the algorithm heard me, but I see an ad for Noble, a Noble Speedo. And I was like, oh, sick. Like, I like Noble. I'll get the Noble Speedo. I ordered it not realizing that it was like a competitive racer Speedo. Like, it is oppressively tight, like almost painfully tight. But it's supposed to streamline you. It's supposed to smash everything down. So I'm like, there's no fucking way I can wear this in public.
Wow.
Like, I'm not doing it. Yeah, it would just been awful. So I wore it like 30 seconds to try it on. And I was like, nope, never wearing this again.
Note to self.
Yeah. So I still kept it. I was like, you know what? Maybe like if I get back into like the deep end fitness with James English, like I'll start rocking the Speedo. But nah.
Still in your closet.
Still in my closet. Yeah. Just like the rest of the skeletons.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So you MC High Rocks events.
Yes.
When did you start doing that? How'd you get into it? I have questions. Let's start with those 2.
Yeah. Well, 4 years ago, which is wild. I think my first race was in 2020, 2021 or 2022. I don't know. This is my 4th season.
Okay.
And how I got into it, a buddy of mine, James Quigley, who used to be really, really big in the MC space. He MC'd the CrossFit Games for a very long time, had a really big career in MCing and started in New York. Anyway, I don't know how we knew of each other. We weren't close, but we knew of each other. He knew what I did. And yeah, they had somebody else doing the start line role, wasn't working out. And they were doing an event in Austin and was like, would you be down to try this? I think you'd be really great at it. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll try it. And I think there was like 300 people that signed up for that race total, which is wild because we hit 9,500 in DC last weekend.
Nuts.
And that's how it got started, you know, and I was the start line MC, and then I went on to the main floor because we brought this other girl in to do the start line. And then she left, Bella Martin, and she's a big MC in the CrossFit event space now as well. And then I went back to the start line because I realized how much I loved it. I love being the touch point for every single athlete that races. I mean, literally every single, you can't race without passing through me.
Seeing Danielle Gertner.
Yep, without coming through
voice.
me.
Yeah.
And it's just such a cool role. And I take it super seriously in a very fun way, but just really recognizing that I have an opportunity to really help somebody shape their experience and to drop into their bodies and get out of their heads. And whether they've trained forever or they're doing this because they lost somebody or because they're proving something to themselves, whatever the case may be, how can I help them ground that experience into the present moment and make it the best? And it has been seriously the highlight of my career thus far. It is a very hard job. I think a lot of people look at it and like, oh my God, that looks so fucking awesome. Like, I want to do that. And I'm like, sure, it's super fun, but I also say the same thing over and over again for 12 to 14 hours every 10 minutes, 2 to 3 days in a row, the same energy every single time. And so it's a very difficult role. And that's been an interesting evolution in itself of I might not be racing the High Rocks races specifically, but I am an athlete in my own light. And so the preparation for that, but it's been amazing. I have so much fun. I get to travel everywhere and meet so many incredible people. And it's been really cool over the last year when I've really seen the blow up of High Rocks. I mean, literally all 4 years ago, 300 people signed.
I didn't realize that's crazy.
It was so small.
I guess everyone starts somewhere. Because in Houston, I think there's 9,000.
This most recent one, 7,500.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then 9,500 in Washington?
9,500, yeah. That was a North American Championship. And then Vegas, a couple weeks before, was about 9,000 athletes.
What are they expecting for Chicago? Because that's Worlds?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I usually don't know until we're closer.
Okay.
Miami's going to be a long one. It's a 1-day event, but it's like 6 a.m. to midnight. So
Oh
it's
shoot,
going to be quite a doozy.
that's
But it's so
gnarly.
cool to see it grow.
Yeah, because again, it has been massive growth.
Yeah.
I think about days where I've like on Saturdays at On It, we used to, and sometimes we still do. You'll coach back to back classes,
Mm-hmm.
and that's exhausting.
Yeah.
So I couldn't imagine keeping that energy for 12 hours. Because now having seen it like firsthand, like you do such a good job of like leading people through some visualization, through some breathing. Like you do like such a good job at the start line of like helping people be in the moment and relax. And that was very beneficial for me because as I was like warming up on the side and like getting ready to go off, and I'm like, oh man, I'm like nervous. And then I was like, wait a minute, I've legitimately stepped in the ring to get punched in the face by other people and like, and try to punch other people in the face. And so I'm like, why am I so nervous for this? And then we get up to the start line and you're up there doing your thing, just killing it. And I'm like, okay, this is gonna be fun.
Mm.
Yeah, you did such a good job of like, you
Thank
ease the tension. Like Happy Gilmore, Chubbs Peterson, just easing the tension, baby.
Easing the tension, baby. That's my job.
Yeah, and you kill it. It's
Thank you.
There's a reason why you've continued to do it, and also probably a reason why you enjoy it.
Yeah, it is. I feel very aligned in my work, but that is definitely a role where it's kind of like, yeah, I feel like I was put on the earth to do something like this because it combines so many of the things that I love, which is like I have a moment of coaching in a way, of self-mastery coaching where we get to be in this room together and somebody who might be, let's say, worried about fucking up the laps, because that's everybody in every race of like, how many laps do I run? And I ran 4 extra last time. So how do I get people out of that, right? Because if we think about that over and over again, don't fuck up the laps, or, oh my God, the sled's going to be so heavy. Like all that energy is going towards that one negative thing. And so I have an opportunity to really show you how pivoting your internal dialogue and language can open up an entire new realm of possibilities for yourself. There was a guy in DC who had 90 minutes written on his arm because his goal was 90 minutes. And as he was walking in the start line, he showed me his arm. And, being realistic, right? I'm a coach. I understand. I'm not gonna be like, no, fuck that, 50 minutes, right? Like I get it.
Why so high? Why 90?
Yeah. But I said, I bet you can do it in 80. And so 10 minutes faster. And at first he was like, oh, I don't know. Sends me a message after the event, did it in 82 minutes.
Wow.
Yep. And I'm not saying I did that.
The
dude he did the work, obviously. But again, it's this recognizing, and this is what I love about whether it's High Rocks or just being an athlete in general, because something that I'd always wanted to do was be a mindset coach for professional athletes of like, how do we work with these athletes, their limiting beliefs, their fears, their inner dialogue, their inner critic, that inner shit talker. How do we work with those parts of themselves? Because everybody has those parts, but as a professional athlete or as a professional athlete, that is amplified a lot of the times. So how do we use that and rewrite those stories? How do we build relationships to those parts of ourselves so that they don't stand in the way of our performance? Yeah. And so that's been a really big gift being in the start tunnel. It's not just about me hyping you up and, spit and fire, although we do that, but it's also an opportunity of the way you think about this. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So the way you're thinking about this and processing this and setting yourself up for this is probably how you set yourself up for other things in your life.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I think the aspect of like a mental coach in sports is huge. Like you're starting to see it becoming more and more. I think you're starting to see teams hiring doctors, and I think it's so beneficial. I think that's why you're starting to see like so many, the evolution of so many sports.
Yeah.
You see people setting up, new records in sports across the board. And I think a lot of it is mentality because, as an athlete, like how many times did you stress out about something that may have never even happened? Mm-hmm. Like, oh my gosh, this is going to happen in the fight, like, or in my sport. And then it never happens. And you spend more time worrying about it than the actual event itself.
Yeah.
Visualization was huge for me in my last fight. Like that was a practice that I really had to dive deep on and do a lot of self-work because I was terrified. I wasn't scared for my first fight because it was a tournament and I didn't know who I was fighting until like everyone made weight the day before and there's hundreds of opponents or hundreds of fighters in that event. But this one, just one-on-one at a big casino in Albuquerque, big promotion. If I'm not mistaken, I was technically the first Muay Thai fight in New Mexico history. And because it was the first Muay Thai card that had come through town.
Wow.
Yeah. And the mental work was grueling, but like it's so beneficial. Like the visualization, everything went so well. And a lot of prayer as well. Like, you know, if this is meant to happen, it's going to happen, and I have nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah. Sorry. But no, it's you're meeting yourself, right? You're meeting the parts of yourself that for so many people, which is why a lot of people don't push themselves out of their comfort zones. They don't step into an arena. They don't step into a competition because we think that it's the physical aspect that is the most challenging, but it's meeting I don't want to use the word demons, right? Because I'm really big on not demonizing the darker shadow parts of ourselves because they're not demons. They're just more foreign. They're the parts of ourselves that we're told that we should keep in a closet or that are bad or not worthy. And that's the issue. And that's exactly what I'm speaking to is the things that you were able and that you chose to face through that race made you a better man because you were able to see the parts that were probably holding you back in a lot of ways. And instead of shunning them or dismissing them or being disgusted by them, whatever it is, everyone has their own experience of it, but inviting them to sit down at the table and have a discussion and a dialogue of, you know, sure, I imagine that part of the fear was letting people down. Part of the fear was like maybe actually getting your ass handed to you a little bit, right? That's scary. But when we can face those fears and break them down into like, okay, so what happens if you do get your ass kicked? What does that mean? Like, what is the actual fear underneath that? Because it's more than just the pain, right? Or, you know, the fear of letting people down. Underneath that is probably the fear of abandonment, because if you let people down, there's the likelihood that you can be abandoned because of that. And so again, when we start to explore these, and I know we're getting woo-woo, but
I love it.
I look at my whole life and from the woo-woo perspective, and I think something I am very passionate about is how do we take this thing that most of the world looks at as very surface level, of like, oh, I'm just trying to get a fit ass body. But how do we break that down into how does this tie back to me raising my consciousness as a human? And high rocks, again, a fight, whatever it is, are all opportunities to do so.
Yeah. And I think to go along that line, there's I want to say it's Walt Whitman, but I have no idea. I think it's Walt Whitman, but he says physical exhaustion can be spiritually enlightening. I think there's a lot to that. Like when you break down all your barriers and you break down everything that you think you are and you see who you actually are when you get through all that. Anthony, the guy that I ran the High Rocks with, when we did one of the sims on it, getting ready for the Houston race. Yeah, I remember as we were running, so I'm just dying on the runs. And he's like, no matter what we do, no matter how you finish, like you're going to find a different Nick Gomez at the end of this. And he was saying that like as we were running, I was like, damn you for being so wise. But he also did a great job of like coaching me through the event. Like you were saying, so many people like, well, how many laps do I run? Or where do I go? All this kind of stuff. Like he was coaching me as we were going. Like I just had to go into autopilot, and it was great because he like I said, he did a great job leading me through that. That's why we're going to do another one in Rome at the end of September. That one's gonna be wild, and then we're gonna try to stay out there for like another week after,
definitely,
and bop around Italy for a little bit,
eat all of the food.
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
that's the plan. And because I also hear that like when you eat in Italy, you can have like a big old bowl of pasta for dinner and then wake up feeling fine. Like their food's just so it's just like so clean,
so
and, like,
different.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that.
Cool.
Italian food is probably my favorite food.
Same.
Yeah,
I think we talked about this once.
Probably.
Same.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. But I'm not gonna lie, because I was in New Mexico this past weekend, went to go golf with some buddies, and New Mexican food is so good. Yeah, it's so different. I wish I could find anything out here like this, or I wish I could just bring my friends to New Mexico to try it.
Yeah,
like I'm like, you guys got to try this. It's so good. But I think on a grand scale, I will always pick Italian. Yeah, tiramisu is probably my favorite dessert. Love a good cannoli.
All right, stop. You're gonna make me hungry.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's around lunchtime. Okay, cool. So what's next for Danielle Gertner? I kind of asked that earlier, and now I want to get back into it.
What's next? Well, I'm in a big season right now of building really solid foundations for the legacy that I want to live.
Love
you
that.
know, I just turned 31. So I'm grown.
Such a baby.
I'm so grown now.
I'm an adult.
I'm an adult. And yeah, there's been a pivot in the thought process and being even more intentional. I already am a pretty intentional person, but even more intentional about what I'm doing, why I'm doing what I'm doing. And so what's next for me, it's not really a new thing. It's just kind of going back to my foundations and revisiting them and reconnecting myself to my values and my mission and my purpose and really making sure that what I'm doing is aligning with those things. And so I'm bringing back my own your shit self-mastery experience, which is something that I've run for the last 5 years online, which gives people the foundation to self-mastery and really the expanding emotional capacity. And that's the journey, what I put out into the world is very much what's happening in my internal world. And so I've been on this big journey of expanding my emotional capacity of what I can hold and what I can't and setting energetic boundaries. And so I'm excited for that. I'm excited to continue speaking and to see where High Rocks takes me in my career. I don't know if 10 years from now, I'll still be the start line gal at High Rocks. I don't know where it'll be, but I know that I found something that I'm not only really good at, but really, really, really lights me up. And, people ask me all the time, how do you feel after those events where I'm on a microphone for like 26 hours in 2 days? And don't get me wrong, there's some days where I come back and I'm like, please, nobody fucking talk to me. But there's like this last one in DC. I woke up the next morning and I actually had so much energy.
Like a second wind?
Yeah, I just, no, my second wind comes on Sunday at like 1:00 when I have like 6 hours left and I'm like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
But no, it just, I feel really lit up by the work I'm doing. And so, that's kind of what's next. Just continuing to become more of myself. I feel like we think that in life we are climbing this invisible mountain. And what I actually see it as is that we're digging deeper into the root of who we are throughout our lives. We're not climbing anything. We're actually descending down more deeply into the root of our being. So I will be descending.
Into the root of
if
your
you
being.
need me.
Yeah. If you need me, this is
if
where
you
I'll
need
be.
me, I'll be down there.
Yeah. Good. I think like kind of going back to your own your shit. As I've continued to mature, I have really started to come into the mindset of like anytime I'm upset, look in the mirror first and see, is it my fault? Like, is it because I didn't communicate something? Is it because whatever the case may be? But like because as a young man, I used to point the finger in so many different directions. So now like owning my shit, I'm like, okay, let's start here and see what I could have done differently. And it has been tough. It's been very challenging. But at the end of the day, I find myself just being happier and happier and like finding more peace in how I'm living my life. And I came to this realization the other day, because I spent so much of my youth, again, being afraid of who I was because I was so challenged as a child, like financially and structurally and everything. Like there was a lot of challenges growing up the way I did. And so I would try to pretend to be other people. I try to pretend to be popular. I try to pretend like I have money, whatever the case may be. And like I said, as I've grown into like owning my own shit, my kind of, I keep most of this story for myself, but my sister told me something that my 4-year-old nephew said about me the other day, and it brought tears in my eyes. I was like, I am exactly who I think I am. I'm exactly who I want to be. And it's beautiful. And it's something that has like come as like an evolution of going through so much struggle. But like, again, starting by looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
And I've been able to work on the parts of me I didn't like and really like become authentically me. And I love it. Like, and you know me, I'm not going to stand around like pat myself on the back and sit on my laurels and my accomplishments and be like, look what I did. But like with all ego aside, like I love who I am and I love who I'm becoming. And I love who I am for other people in this space, whether it's my nephews or younger coworkers that need some guidance or members that are just trying to figure it out for the first time, because I was there too one time.
Yeah.
And I always felt so bad for the people that come in and they're like, well, I just feel like people are looking at me. Because my mom was the same way when she started going to the gym like years ago. She was the same way. She's like, I just feel like everyone's looking at me. And like, I'm like, no one's looking at you. Everyone's there, especially at On It. Like there are a ton of like jacked people with their shirts off for sure. But guess what? They're not there to see what you're doing. They're there to get better at what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine. So go in, own your space and be that person. So like I said, I try to be like guiding light for those people that just need a little bit of assistance. And like I said, I'm truly enjoying who I am and who I'm becoming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a great human. You're a great man. And I say this to people all the time. Ownership and owning your shit is the greatest gift you can give yourself, because the freedom that you get from that, of not worrying about other people's opinions or validation, or uh, outsourcing your happiness, your joy, so many things. There is a level of freedom that is truly unparalleled. And you had said, how is this my fault? One of my favorite quotes is, it's not usually your fault, but it's always your responsibility.
Mm.
And when we take responsibility for what is happening in our world, it doesn't mean that we can change what's happening, but you can change your resonance with what is happening. And this was something that hit hard when my brother passed away. I can't change the fact that he's gone. I'll never be able to change that fact, but I do have the power to choose how I navigate this.
Yeah.
And we all have that same choice: choose love or choose fear, choose to lean in or choose to lean out.
Yeah.
And we're getting those opportunities to choose every moment of every day. And unfortunately, and I think it's a combination of a lot of things, we're taught from a young age that we don't have our own answers, and we need to outsource those to our parents, to our teachers, to our politicians, to authority, etc. And a combination of just not having the self-trust and self-belief. But when we are continuously outsourcing our own power, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's really, really exhausting. And it's a very heavy load to carry throughout life. I imagine, we're fitness people. So imagine walking around with a 135-pound barbell on your back all the time.
Yeah.
And all that weight is loaded with these, this need for the external validation, or you're a people pleaser or whatever it is. And ownership reminds you that you can re-rack that. Like sometimes you need a squat with the 135 on your back, but ownership reminds you, to re-rack that weight and take it off, and know that just you without weight on your back is really strong. And so I love the journey that owning my shit has taken me on, and witnessing other people along that journey as well is just, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I've always thought, like, to kind of speak to that same breath, these events that happen in your life, they happen to you or for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that really comes down to your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Because, we've both been through traumatic losses. And that is definitely something that could have broke either one of us.
Yeah.
And we could use that as an excuse to be a bad person, or to be bitter, or to be upset, or to not want to help. But these are traumatic events that happened for us. Like, we have both grown so much through those different, again, very different scenarios, but traumatic without a doubt. And again, I have had family members that took a different route than I took, and they're starting to come back around. But it was, for me, it became a mission instantly. Like, I knew that I could not sit back and feel bad for myself. I could not sit back and wonder why this had happened to me and why this was happening to my family. I had to, well, first of all, to be fair, like I just went numb for a while.
Yeah.
Same. I went numb and just went on like go mode.
Yeah.
Like, I drank the first couple nights after my dad passed away, but I knew, I was like, I can't do this. I can't go down this route. And so I just blindly and like autopilotly started going through life for several years. I had a friend recently ask me, they're like, hey, like, have you ever felt depressed? I'm like, yeah, of course I have. And they're like, well, how long was like your longest bout of depression? Mm. And I was like, honestly, probably like 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah, 8 years of just numbness, of like, I gained so much weight. I got married to a good woman, but not the right woman, and which obviously ended up falling apart, as it should have, because it was not built on the right foundation. And it was just one of those things where, like, I was just, again, numb for probably a good 7 or 8 years, from like 21 to 28.
Yeah.
And I tell people, especially like the younger coaches that are on it, I'm like, I didn't start to figure it out till I was 28. Like, don't feel like you're behind the curve because you're 26 and you're not driving a Porsche yet. Like, don't feel bad about that, because guess what? Like at 26, I barely have memories from that time, to be honest with you. Like everyone's like, oh man, it's so wild. Like to think that you used to be married. I'm like, you're telling me that's crazy to think I used to be married. I forget about it all the time, because again, it was almost like not a bad dream, but just a dream. Like I look back and there's parts I remember and there's parts I don't. And like, again, I think I was just really depressed through that whole time, because my dad passed. And that was like at the age where I was becoming a man. I was 21 when he passed away. I was still in college playing baseball, and I just felt like I had so much to ask him still.
Yeah.
Like, and he was a very well-experienced man. He had traveled a lot when he was younger, and he was from Colombia and just did a lot of crazy shit. And I wish I could have like heard more of those stories and got more of his opinion on stuff, especially when it came to, because I guarantee you he would have told me not to marry the woman that I married in a good way. Like my dad was like, Colombians are like the most welcoming people, but I guarantee my dad would talk me out of situation, but also like it happened for a reason.
Totally.
Everything happened for a reason. And like, if you were to ask my dad, okay, you will live, but this is how your family might turn out, or this is the moment that you ascend and your family will grow in a way that is unimaginable. And I think my dad would take that. Yeah. And so I think like, that's the like, not to say like my dad had a choice. It was a massive heart attack. He had no choice in it. But had my dad had the choice, he probably would have taken the growth for his family. Yeah. And he would probably choose to see the man I am today versus the potential man I could have been. Because who knows, you know what I mean? And again, I'm very happy with who I am and where my life is going. So I think that's a thought that like I've kind of had over the last 2 years or so of like, okay, this is why it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
Of course. You know, I'm an open book. I wear my heart on my sleeve, but I don't wear my scars on my sleeve. And I will share my story with anyone, because again, as you know, you never know who it's going to help.
No. Yeah. It's, grief is such a beautiful experience. And this is another thing that I feel very passionate about inviting people into, you know, where I've had a lot of people, really fearful of asking me about my brother and not wanting to upset me or see me cry. And I tell people all the time, if I cry because I'm talking about my brother, it's because I love him and I miss him. And that's nothing for you to be afraid of triggering within me, you know, but can you get comfortable sitting in those emotions with me?
Right.
And that's, I think,
because they're going deep.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the struggle for a lot of people is and again, this goes back to what we were talking about with even high rocks and meeting the different parts of yourself and being able to hold them. And I know that my mission is to help people expand their emotional capacity. That's become very, very clear, because the more that we can hold our own emotional capacity, the more we can hold the world's and people of the world. And grief is, everybody experiences grief, whether you've lost, you know, someone like your dad or my brother, or you're grieving a relationship or an identity or a season. I mean, there's so many aspects of grief. There's collective grief and we carry it, but because we don't talk about it in our society the way they do in other societies, we're carrying this load almost that we don't know where it's coming from. And we feel it pulling at us, but we can't find the source of the pull. And it's like what you talked about earlier when people are like, I will do ayahuasca and I will sit with mushrooms and I will do X, Y, and Z, but I won't sit with God.
Yeah.
And grief to me is one of the closest ways to get to your connection to God, because grief and love, and this is a quote from the book, The Wild Edge of Sorrow, and book completely changed my life. It took me a couple years to read it after my brother passed away. But what he talks about in the book is grief and love are sisters woven together since the beginning of time.
Oh, wow.
They're two sides of the same coin. We grieve because we've loved. Yeah. And we love because we love knowing that we're going to grieve. Yeah. And the more comfortable we can get with grief. You know, there's a reason why you and I can sit down together and go so deep into a conversation is because we've met ourselves in that grief. And so there's not really much more we're afraid of exposing. You know, when you experience grief to the level that we have, where I know the similarity between our experiences, which are still different, but the the abruptness of the passing we share,
Yeah.
where it wasn't like something we knew was going to happen, right? And that shreds you in a way that nothing else ever will. And the level of despair that I know that I've experienced, I imagine you experience on some level. And again, when you can hold yourself in that despair, it's, after that, it's like, here's my heart, fam. Like, take it
Yeah.
or leave it. Like,
Take it or leave it.
this is who I am.
For sure. This is what I got.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, beautiful. I think that's one of the beautiful things for me when it comes to Christianity is it's a lot of grieving and loving. And that's where a lot of people are like, well, why would a loving God do that? And it's one of those things where kind of like you talk, or like I was just talking about, finding the beauty in that, finding the loss in that, or finding the beauty in that loss. It's the lessons, right? It's the lessons that we learn from it, the people we become, because again, it happens to you or for you. And it's been such a blessing for me to find strength in my faith, because as I was sharing before the cameras were rolling, I recently got out of a relationship that hurt me. It hurt me bad. And it hurt me in the worst possible way that it could have, because initially the greatest fear I had in that relationship came true. Everything that I was worried about was exactly what happened. And it dug at me. And because it was, 4 years. And recently I've had the thought of like, well, how can I hate her when she was part of God's plan? How can I hate part of God's plan? For me, it's like, find the beauty in that. I found a lot of beauty in the lessons that I learned from her, and the routes that I took in my life that have led me here. Like I without a doubt wouldn't be at Onnit, wouldn't be in Austin. I wouldn't have gotten into training MMA fighters. And so sure, for a brief moment, for a few weeks, probably, I wouldn't say I hated her, but like I had very, very strong feelings of anger. And I've come to the realization lately, and again, it comes from my faith of like, no, I can't hate part of God's plan. I can't do that. Like it was tough, but High Rocks is tough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and the feeling you get going through High Rocks, right? When you cross that finish line, it's kind of the same thing. Like, okay, I survived something tough. It made me stronger. It's resistance training. It's gradual overload. Like we're getting stronger spiritually, emotionally, physically in some aspects. But like it's just been a very trying season. But I think again, having the faith that I do, I've been able to find a lot of beauty in it.
Yeah. And, again, going back to the expanding your emotional capacity to hold both, hold all of everything in between. I think, again, we're taught it's either this or that. You either feel happy or sad. You either feel love or grief. You either feel anger or joy. And it's bullshit. You can hold both of those emotions, where you can feel the pain and the hurt. And, I went through a big breakup too. And it's still been a journey of holding the hurt and the sadness and the anger, but also the love and the acceptance and the gratitude. And I think learning that we are so multifaceted, we are so dynamic, we're not meant to pick one. And if we let go of that pressure to pick one, we're going to find a lot more freedom. We're going to find that deep breath and that exhale of, I can be more authentically me because I can hold all of these different aspects, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And going back to what you said about that's you can't hate part of God's plan, or you had said, how is this loving? How could this be loving? Well, what
Right.
is your definition of love? And I think for me, that was I really had to explore that when my brother passed away, because I asked those questions. I'm Jewish, but still, again,
Still a woman of faith.
yeah. And those questions were very prevalent of, how could God love me and my family and do something like this?
Yeah.
And what I really had to sit with, and I worked with a Jewish therapist for a long time after my brother passed away and after the breakup, who just challenged me of, well, how are you defining love? And does that definition of love need to evolve? And to the point where you understand that love isn't coming down in a beautifully wrapped package with a bow on top of, here you go, Danielle, here's a box of love. It's
A red ribbon.
Yeah, it's coming to you in any way, shape, or form that you choose to see it. And I'm going to go on a very quick tangent real quick to my first ayahuasca experience. And this isn't to say go out and do ayahuasca. I just want to preface that. I personally love the medicine and I've sat with it 6 times now. But the first time I did it, I had very strong visuals because there's, DMT in the medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And when I closed my eyes, I got really afraid of what I was seeing because I was starting to see like demons and snakes and what we consider quote unquote bad and scary.
Yeah.
And so I was freaking myself out in this ceremony. And then this voice came to me, which tends to happen in ceremony. They call it the grandmother medicine because it's a very grandmotherly essence. And she was like, change your definition of what's scary and bad. And so here I am now with my eyes closed and I see this snake. But instead of freaking out and having that visceral reaction of, holy shit, I see the snake, I softened to the snake. I welcomed the snake. And then it just pivoted into a different image. If the demon popped up, it was like I had that moment of like, oh my God, scary. And also just like breathing into it. And so the point of me sharing all of that is we get to choose the lens in which we see the world. We just are so used to the contact lenses that we've had on for so long, we forget we can take them out.
Yeah.
And so do you need to take out your contact lenses? Is it time for some fresh ones? Or do you need them anymore?
Right.
And can you shift your definition of love, happiness, joy? I mean, insert whatever word to be more in alignment with the way in which you actually want to see the world. Like, can you let go of some of those beliefs and identities and hang them up and give yourself the spaciousness to try new ones on?
Yeah. I think that's super powerful. Like to be able to just change your mindset of what you define as scary or what you define as bad or dark or whatever the case may be, and realize that it's just a different energy and it's coming at you in a different way. And how you translate that is all on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to go up to a snake outside and try to pet it and welcome it into my life.
You're so beautiful.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I was telling someone this story. This is random side story. When I lived in Oregon, a lot of water. We lived by like a 24-mile long lake. And we used to catch snakes all the time. And like we even had, like I developed this method where like if I saw a snake swimming out in the water, I would throw rocks out past it so that it would scare it into shore and then I'd catch it. And we never did it. We just threw them in a bucket and we'd see how many we can catch and then we'd throw them out. We never did anything with them. But
just so you guys know, Nick is a good guy. No snakes were harmed.
No snakes were harmed in this story. And that's the truth. Even as like an 11-year-old boy, like I was like, no, let's let him go. I've always been a bit of a softie, to be honest with you, despite like the fighting background and like the tattoos and growing up rough. Like I've always been a bit of a softie at heart. Especially when it comes to like people needing help or helpless animals. Like, I'm like, what are we doing here? But anyway, so yeah, I used to catch snakes and I was telling that story and the person was like freaked out. They're like, oh my God. I'm like, well, I knew what kind of snakes they were. I knew they weren't venomous. I knew they weren't going to bite me well, they might bite me, but they're not going to kill me. But yeah, it is, how you perceive things,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Is a way to really like change how you live your life. If you're constantly living in fear or anxiety, address like what is causing that? Why am I afraid?
Totally.
Yeah. And have like these scenarios ever actually come to fruition, or is it all in my head?
Well, you had spoke to with this relationship, the very fears that you had is what ended up happening. And, I want to preface this by saying I'm not in any way saying this is your fault that this happened. But oftentimes when those fears go unaddressed, and when I mean unaddressed, I don't mean like we sat down with the other person and we said, these are our fears. But when they go disembodied, that's the word that I want to use. When the fears that we have go disembodied, meaning we don't allow ourselves to fully feel them and hold them and sit in the gunk and the stickiness of them, they manifest.
Yeah.
Because they're a shadow side. And we think that our shadows, if I just ignore it and lock it in the closet long enough, it'll just disappear. But it doesn't. It projects in other ways, shapes, or forms. And so there's such a beauty and importance, not even a beauty, importance in allowing and creating. And again, this is done, you need to have the right tools, you need to have the right environment, and not everybody does. And I think that's really important. You have to have the inner resources and the external resources to hold these parts of yourself. And please do that in an intelligent, safe way. But giving your parts the spaciousness to be embodied has been one of the biggest game changers for my life in not allowing the fears to dictate the choices I make, the person I am, how I show up in the world. And just to give a more realistic example of that, after my breakup, it's been challenging for me still to be in relationship and partnership, because I have the same similar fears of the abandonment that I felt with the breakup. And so I've been dating somebody for a little while now that's been, a little closer to the chest. And when I have those fears of that abandonment, instead of just knowing, okay, they're in that corner, it's letting them come up fully and having, maybe it's a big cry, maybe it's the inner child freak out of like, please don't leave, please don't leave. But if I can hold the space, right, the masculine space for me to feel that, I'm not going to take that out on my partner.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from, but
no, it's good. Yeah. No, I loved it. Because I mean, similar thought process, totally different scenario. Like 2 years ago, my dog passed away, and devastating. Like that was like in the moment, because like I said, when my dad passed away, I really feel like I went into shock and just kind of like an autopilot mode. Especially because like I was there with my dad, like he was in my arms when he passed, and so it was just, again, a very numb feeling. Like I almost knew instinctually, like I can't, like he's gone.
Yeah.
Even before the EMTs got there, I'm like, he's gone. So I'm not going to get my hopes up that the EMTs are going to bring him back. I'm not going to get my hopes up that the doctors at the hospital are going to bring him back. And so, like I said, it's just an instant numbness, which was wild. But when my dog passed away, I felt every bit of it. Also, like died in my arms, which was really shitty. He had cancer. And the night before he passed, like I knew things were looking bad. So I arranged for a service to come to the house to put him down at the house. And he didn't make it through the night. He died at like 4 a.m. just throwing up blood. Like it was just awful. It was just a truly like bad situation that hurt me for a long time. But rewind to this past September. We are in April now, April of 2025. This past September, I got a new dog. And it was one of those things where of like, yeah, I'm ready to be hurt again. But like it was one of those moments of like, no, like I can't have it, because like you said, you love knowing you're gonna lose.
Yeah.
You're like there's gonna be grieving when you love something so much. There's gonna be like probably equal amount of grieving.
Yeah.
But I went into it knowing like, you know what, like I should love this dog as much as my last dog. I should love this dog wholeheartedly. Like I should allow him to be my dog. And it was one of those things of like, okay, like I'm opening myself up to this again. But it's again very rewarding to face that and break through that of like, no, I can't. And like I was joking around before, because you were saying that your aura or your heart has like a golden glow to it. And I was jokingly saying that mine has like a gunmetal gray. And but again, like I love love. And people have asked me like, will you get married again? Like, what are your thoughts on marriage? I'm like, absolutely. I think marriage is beautiful. I think people that can truly commit themselves to each other and in a very genuine, because a lot of people get married for the wrong reasons, as I did. But when you see the ones that work out, and when you see the people that are just like two souls on fire, I'm like, man, that is so beautiful. And I want that. And I know I'll find that someday. And like, I have no doubt that like marriage is a beautiful thing, and I fully support it. Like I won't let my experience again hold me back from, having that again.
Yeah. Yeah. It just reminds me of what we were talking about. It all happens for you. And if you have that one perspective shift, that nothing that you move through, no shitty relationship, no bad job, no bad breakup, nothing is an accident. And nothing is they're all opportunities to become your favorite version of yourself, but you have to choose that. And that's also not to say that you don't feel your shit first, right? We're not spiritually bypassing your emotions and
Right.
your grief. And this isn't, the not false positivity, or the toxic positivity is the word I'm looking for. Because you do have to feel your shit, right? Similarly, when Zachary passed away, I was numb to the world. Like the only thing that would get me to feel anything was lifting very heavy, very hard for long periods of time, until I literally brought my physical body to a breaking point. And so anyway, all of that to say, there's such a gift in the things that we move through. And when I work with clients on parts work, let's say, where we're talking about the inner critic and somebody's telling me the inner critic has been super, super intense, the first thing I say is, what is the wisdom there? What is the wisdom there? Because there is always wisdom in what we're going through. And that doesn't mean that you're going to see the wisdom right away, as for both of us. It took some time to look back on it. And, they always say hindsight's 2020. But when you do look back on it, I wouldn't be this version of myself if it wasn't for my brother passing away. And that's not at all to say that I wouldn't do anything to get him back.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I would not have met myself as deeply. I wouldn't have let go of the friendships and relationships I really needed to let go of. That couldn't hold space for that level of grief. I wouldn't have welcomed in the relationships I have. I wouldn't have gotten as close with my family as I am now because of the conversations that we've had. And so, again, if you're in a hard time right now, trust that there is wisdom. And even if you can't see it right now because you're in the thick of the forest and the bushes are super high and you're getting scratched all over the place, keep walking, because eventually you are going to get out of that and you're going to get to turn around and see the big picture of like, holy shit, that's such a beautiful forest. So
I think that's so well said. Like, that was beautifully put, because it's true. Like, you can't sit in it. You can't, I mean, again, feel your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
But when you find yourself in the thorn bushes and you're just like, what do I do here? I'm just stuck. Keep moving.
Yeah.
Keep going forward. Again, it might take you some time. I tell people all the time, I knew instantly the lessons that my dad's passing were going to bring. But it took, like I said, several years for them to actually, for those seeds to bear fruit.
Yeah.
Like, I knew as soon as my dad passed, life was too short. Life is too short to take too serious. And because my dad was a fun-loving guy, life of the party. There were so many people at his service that I never met. And it was like standing room only. And it was just the lives that he impacted. And I was like, that's the legacy I want to leave behind. And there's a Jackie Robinson quote that says, a life's man is not important except for the impact it has on others. And that's how I try to live my life. Like, I know that me as a person, like, I'm one guy, but I can impact a lot of people by sharing my story, by help guiding them through their story, without trying to give them the answers, because I have no answers. I can be a beacon of light that people can see, like, okay, Nick found light at the end of the tunnel, like, it's there. He shared his story. I didn't know people could go through something like that and still end up being as happy or as, I won't say successful, but genuinely
say
successful, sure. But yeah, it's one of those things, like, I want to help people. And when my dad passed, like I said, those lessons took a while to sit, but they're here now. And again, like you said, that I would give everything to play one more round of golf with my dad. But I guarantee you, he's proud of the man I am today that I would not have been if he didn't pass. Because I've always kind of felt like my dad, I've jokingly said I'm the favorite son of the favorite son, because everyone loved my dad. And when he passed, and again, this kind of took me years to come to this realization. I was like, okay, the king passed, and it took me a while to become like this spoiled little prince into the king I am today. Like, maybe think of like Mufasa and Simba.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I was just, even though I was 21, I was such a boy. I was such a boy just trying to be a college athlete, doing boy things. And the king passed. And I was, as much as I love my older brother, like, I was forced into the role of leader, and it's turned me into the leader that I am today. And again, I'm very much loving who I am and who I'm becoming.
Yeah. And again, what an act of love from God, even if it didn't feel like it in the moment.
Yeah.
But that was God's way of guiding you to bigger things, and your dad's soul knowing, my brother's soul knowing, this is what I was here this is what I was here to do. This was my purpose. And we don't always know our deeper soul's purpose because it's wrapped up in a lot of human logic and ego, but our souls know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I think, the theme that we keep coming back to through this conversation is, can you let go of the need to control and have it all figured out and trust in your own divine wisdom and your own inner guidance system that is leading you exactly where you need to go?
Yeah.
And can you allow what wants to happen to happen? Because I think that's where a lot of people experience so much misery, so much discontent, because we have this one vision of how our life should go and why it should be this way. And when it doesn't go that way, we're unhappy. And Michael Singer, who wrote the book The Untethered Soul and The Surrender Experiment, have you heard of those?
No. The Untethered Soul I've heard of.
So he's phenomenal. And he lives in Gainesville, Florida, where I went to school. So I
Oh,
got
wow.
to see him speak many, many times. And anyway, one of the last times I saw him speak, he talked about the levels of spirituality and how most people say that they're spiritual, but they are only spiritual when shit is going their way.
Yeah.
Things are flowing, money's flowing, relationship feels good, we feel in alignment. And as soon as it's not, we're not spiritual. There's no connection to God. There's no commitment to ritual.
Yep.
And that is not spirituality. That is being conditionally okay. That is conditional spirituality, which is not spirituality.
Right.
And again, this creates a lot of unease and also creates a lot of desire to manipulate the world so that things do feel okay.
Yep.
And I think the ultimate goal for everybody should be, I know for me, is unconditional okayness.
Yeah.
Unconditional contentment, that I don't need to understand what's happening or why for me to have the sense of peace and soul connection and connection to God and trust.
Yeah. I think like, how much can you surrender in those moments? Like when things aren't going your way, instead of trying to control everything and bring it back under control, like how much can you surrender and trust the plan, trust the faith, like the faith that you were proclaiming to have when things were good. Are you having that same faith when things are bad? And how much can you trust it? Are you riding that wave or is the wave crashing on you? Because you can't control the wave. It's going to happen one way or another. Are you going to ride it or are you going to get rolled up in a pipeline?
How
you know what I mean?
good of a surfer are you? That was one of my first podcast episodes I ever put out, was learning how to surf.
Oh, wow.
And that's exactly what I was talking about. Do you
It's life.
go with the current? I mean, I talk about this a lot too. Also, time check me. You know, I can sit here with you all fucking day.
12:04.
Yeah, we'll sit here all day. But I talk about this a lot when I talk about the kettlebell swing, like or kettlebells in general. Like one of the reasons I love kettlebells and fell in love with kettlebells so much, like obviously it's a dope piece of equipment, it's super versatile, blah, blah, blah. But what I love about kettlebells is that it is such a metaphor for life. If you are going to swing a kettlebell, if you are going to flow with a kettlebell, you need to be both rooted and fluid. You need to be both grounded and flexible.
Yeah.
So when I'm swinging a kettlebell, if my feet are not rooted in that earth, if I am not grounded in my values and the knowing of who I am, that bell will take me places I don't want to go.
Yeah.
But simultaneously, I need to have that fluidity to allow me to move with the weight, a little bit of allowing the weight to take me certain places that might be just beyond my comfort zone, just beyond my reach in this current moment. So it's having that and having that discernment. And that's why I've fallen in love with kettlebells. And when I tell that to people, I think it kind of clicks of what a beautiful gift. Again, how you do one thing is how you do everything, for this to show up in life. Where do you need to be more rooted in who you are and in your values and in your knowing? But where also do you need to and can be more open and flexible to what wants to happen and allow yourself to be guided that way without losing sense of who you are?
Yeah. Yeah. How do you bear that weight? You know what I mean? How do you bear the weight of the kettlebell? Are you flowing with it or is it shattering your toes? You know, because those are two very possible outcomes, you know? So again, I think that's a very good semblance of life. And so is surfing, because again, are you riding the waves or are they just crashing on you over and over again? Because you know that and I'm sure you know the type of person, I know the type of person that they just can't seem to catch a break and they're always complaining. It's like, well, how are you handling those situations? Are you just sitting there allowing the waves to crash on you, or are you grabbing your board and paddling back out?
Yeah. And where are you responsible for this? You know, again, coming back to that responsibility. And I was going to think about this earlier when we were talking about somebody who's experiencing, let's say, depression or whatever, you know, whatever feeling or mood, but we end up choosing these things because they start to become familiar and safe for us. And without getting too woo-woo into this, but Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this a lot. We think equal to our environment. He talks about this idea of the chemical cocktail. And this is a really powerful concept because we can become so used to, right? You're talking about autopilot. We can very quickly become so used to a certain feeling, a certain emotion, that we become addicted to it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is I'm going to butcher the saying a little bit. It's like where your thoughts become your your words become your actions, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Actions become your character.
Your character. Yeah.
Something along those lines. Because if we're not careful, if we get stuck in this cycle of depressive thoughts, which this isn't to downplay the seriousness of people who are experiencing depression, but the point I'm trying to get to is that we then that becomes the homeostasis of our chemical cocktail. It's like an alcoholic or a drug addict who keeps needing more in order to feel something.
To have the balance, yeah.
Yeah. And so now the homeostasis is here. And so the only way I'm going to get drunk or the only way I'm going to get high is if I have this much. And the same thing goes for that chemical cocktail we build. If I'm so used to feeling down and I try to feel good, I've now associated the down feeling with safety and familiarity. My brain doesn't know that's good or that's bad or that's right or that's wrong. It's just like, this is what's safe and familiar. So I'm going to keep choosing that. You're telling me to feel good, and that feels so unsafe to me because it's so unfamiliar. My brain is going to do everything to keep me away from that and keep me in this norm. And so the point of that, coming back to what you just said, is if you find yourself and you have one of those friends that are just like, shit's always fucking happening, where are they responsible for thinking equal to their environment? And where do you have the capacity to shift your environment, step out of your environment so that you can shift the, trajectory of where you're going?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like, it's so hard to share that kind of enlightenment with people that haven't experienced what we've experienced. Like, it's hard to be like, oh, I'm here because this happened to me, and I don't know how to get you here without something really bad happening to you.
Yeah.
Which is tough, and that's a tough line to flirt, right? Like I was in a past relationship with this girl. I'd very fortunately never really experienced much loss, and she knew my full backstory and everything like that, and she would just take so much, like, so serious, and I would try to, and she was pretty deep in her faith as well, and I would just always try to remind her of, like, hey, none of this is permanent. Like we spoke about before, like, I'm not taking my bank account with me when I pass. So it's one of those things of, like, it's hard to guide people to a certain level of understanding. Not that I have any more understanding than anybody else, but I do find peace in my translation of things. And it's hard to, like I said, kind of guide people to that same spot if they haven't experienced that same level. Like, have you ever come across that where you're, especially like if you're working with maybe someone that's just a very successful businesswoman, and again, hasn't experienced the kind of trauma, but is experiencing that kind of stress or anxiety? Like, how do you help those people in those moments?
Yeah, that's a really great question, because it's not your responsibility to guide somebody. Ultimately, your responsibility is to live in your truth and hope that leads by example, right?
Yeah.
But when I'm working with clients, and this comes up a lot, where it doesn't click, and I think there's a gift in an opportunity to make it somewhat relatable, to the best of your ability. Of they're not going to experience a level of grief, but they have experienced some sort of grief in their life. So how do I kind of step off of my not pedestal, but, like, we're in different places. So how do I kind of meet you on a common ground, if you will? And, also trusting that the seeds we plant might take years to sprout. And this goes back to what you talked about with experiencing the numbness with losing your dad, that it took years for you to go through that process. But those seeds eventually did sprout 6, 7, 8 years later. They did sprout. And again, we live in such a society where it's like, I want it now. I think of the scene from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with Baruka. And she's like, I want it now. And I reference that a lot because that's the world that we live in, the instant gratification and the fast food lines and orders and things getting delivered right away. And we forget, and I actually saw this post on Instagram the other day of, like, this guy was talking about Gandhi didn't just wake up one day and was Gandhi, or Buddha didn't just wake up one day and was Buddha. Like, this is lifelong mastery. Yeah. And this is one of the first things I tell my clients when I work with them. You're going to go through my 5-month program, but if you think at the end of 5 months that all your shit's going to be gone, you're wrong. And I'm the wrong coach to work with because I'm not going to feed you. Here's the 5 steps to blah, 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 blah. what you are signing up for right now is a lifelong commitment to your connection to self. And so when I'm working with a client who isn't there yet or is struggling to connect the pieces, number one, I start small, give them something relatable. So something that's currently happening in their lives. But number two, one of the greatest gifts we can give people is the gift of belief, is me believing in them. And this is one of the probably most powerful things I got from a trauma and somatic certification that I went through, is we think as coaches, people are coming to us because we have the answers. And I used to lead my coaching programs like that. You're coming to me, I'm going to talk the entire time. I have all this advice to give you. And I gave them no opportunity to connect with their own inner wisdom and their own inner power. And so when I will ask questions, and if somebody gives me the answer, I don't know, I will respond with, when did you decide that you don't know? Because you do know. We're just conditioned to say, I don't know.
Right.
So long way of answering that. But it's just retraining people to connect to that innate wisdom. It's in there. It's in there. And if that means I need to assign you to go meditate, let's say, or go out in nature every day for the next 90 days until that voice feels safe enough to get loud again and to communicate with you again, because that's really what it is.
Yeah.
People are disconnected from it because that voice has become so fucking silenced. How can we amplify that voice again? That's the question that I would ask myself sitting across from a client who's struggling to connect, is what can I do to help this person amplify their intuition and that inner voice and that innate wisdom?
Yeah. Tough.
It is
a tough thing to accomplish for sure.
Plant the seed and then
surrender.
Step back.
Yeah. Plant the seed and surrender.
Step back.
Yeah. That's again, the best advice you can give someone. And, you know, as you said, it takes time. It takes time. And that's a lifelong commitment. I think that's really wise of you to lay that boundary out there. Like, hey, at the end of this 5 months, you're not going to have all the answers, but you will be set on a path to where you can continue to evolve as a human. It's fantastic because there's so many people that sell snake oil. Be like, you do this program for this many days and you will have it figured out. Like, no, that's not true.
And then people end up going down spirals when they relapse or the weight comes back on, or there was a girl I led a masterclass last week who came on and shared very vulnerably, just, I'm a therapist and I've gone through all the programs and I read all the books, and she was crying just like, I don't know why this is not working. Like, look, I did all the things everyone told me that I was supposed to do. And this is a big part of my journey. Look, I climbed the ladder. Look at my resume. Why don't I have the happiness and success and fulfillment you promised me? It's because life doesn't work that way. And we're, again, going back to everything we talked about, every moment is an opportunity to get closer to your favorite version of yourself. And it's not always going to be a beautiful process. Sometimes it's going to be super messy and a little chaotic. But just continuing to show up to do the work, because eventually, just like fitness, the muscle gets bigger. Eventually, the movement pattern now becomes second nature to the body and to the mind. Probably not right away.
Yeah.
And then there's something else to learn. Like, I went to this movement workshop this weekend and I was like, I feel like such a noob.
Nice.
This weird movement pattern that I haven't done. And again, just opportunities. So check your mindset. Check your mindset, check your connection to your heart, and keep showing up.
Yeah. Keep showing up. Yeah. Listen, see what you hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's a good place to end it.
It's good. Good place to end it.
Yeah. All right. Well, why don't you tell the people where to find you? On all your socials.
All my socials. Well, yeah. Instagram is a great way to connect with me and just kind of get a feel for what I'm doing and have some fun with me on Instagram, because I definitely don't take Instagram seriously. So at Danielle Gertner, I'm sure you'll link all these fancy things.
Yeah.
You can join my email list. That's a great way to connect with me more deeply. I send emails once a week to your inbox so that you can own your shit on the go. I got a podcast, the Own Your Shit podcast. If you want to listen, new episodes, new season is coming out in a month.
Oh, nice.
I'm very excited. I know it's been 2 years since I've released an episode. So I'm very excited.
The long-awaited return.
Yeah. Come see me at the start line at High Rocks, or if you're in Austin and you're a woman, come to Warrior Women.
And where would the men find you? No, I'm just kidding.
Instagram.
Instagram. Yeah. Stay there.
Yeah. Stay there.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I really appreciate this. This was amazing.
Of course. I'm so glad we had you on. Whatever. I'm so glad that you're on. Like I said, we've been trying to make this happen for a little bit and knew it was going to be a good one. Cause like I said, we always have great conversations and very like genuine conversations, which is what I want this to always be, is very like genuine, authentic. I never want to come across as anything else. I never want a guest to feel like they have to be anything else. And people always be like, well, should I be prepared for any questions or anything like that? And now I think I might start doing like, get some questions lined up, but I just want to keep it fluid. And I knew that having you on would be a great time.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Glad you made it. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Lions Pit podcast. Again, I am your host, Nick Gomez. With me is the great Danielle Gertner. Shout out to Correct. This is Aubrey Marcus's new supplement line, correctlife.com. That is correct with a K. Energy and focus. Guys, check it out. It is phenomenal. Shout out to Set, the new nicotine pouches. That is Set with 2 T's, SETT. Phenomenal flavor. They're made with L-theanine, so it's a lot smoother of a ride than your Zins or any other pouches that are out there. And then last but not least, shout out to Game Day Men's Health up in North Austin. Guys, if you're feeling sluggish or having a hard time recovering, whatever the case may be, maybe low libido, go get your levels checked, go get some blood work done, find out what's going on. Probably not your fault what's going on. We live in a society today where a lot of bad things are happening, whether it's a cell phone 2 inches away from your nutsack in your pocket or all the crappy quality food we're eating. Testosterone is down across the board. So go get your levels checked, guys. Hit up Greg Tyler at Game Day Men's Health Clinic. Again, thanks for tuning in to the Lions Pit podcast. We'll see you next time.